Hey, what's going on? Jeff Coga here, and I want to talk about kind of the best marketing strategy for you in 2018 and the concept of repairing the roof before the weather changes. All right, so before I get started, I saw another gentleman ask this question to another group. Do you guys and gals, whoever that's in here, do you take time off during the holiday season? Do you take time off? And then the question is from there, now when you do you feel guilty? Now, why am I asking that question is because this is my second year. Now, it wasn't like this all the time, right? Like before this, I would have to grind, and got to a point where we accumulated and then boom, the business generates income without me physically being in the business, which is great, and worked on a lot of things personally to be able to get the business going and run on its own and stuff like that, right? So, but ask yourself, do you take the time off to actually think about and strategize at a much higher level of, hey, what's working, what's not working, and do you actually take action on it, right? Now, if you say that you're not able to take the time off, right, your brain starts working in a different way. Like last year, right? Like I went to Japan I got married last year and I went to Japan for 2 weeks. And then once I came back, I decided not to step into the office. Now, when I did that exercise, right, it was kind of interesting because my brain started shifting and started thinking about business, started thinking about income streams, started thinking about management, started thinking about lifestyle design, started thinking about all kinds of stuff, right? Like even my spirituality, right? My spiritual side, and started thinking all kinds of different ways. And this year was pretty damn good too, right? Because of that. So I decided to do the same thing and decide to literally clock out for about 2 months or so. So I will not be stepping into the office officially until January. But throughout this last 60 days, I've been strategizing, thinking, looking back at some numbers. Probably the only 2 meetings I've done is with my CFO and as well as my accountant that I have lined up where we're planning for 2018, right? So now with that being said, let's get into the topic of the video that I wanted to talk about, okay? What is the best marketing strategy for you in 2018? I used to think like that all the time, okay? Like, hey, what is something that I can add to the plate, right? Like as in, hey, this extra thing that I can do the following year so I can generate more revenue, generate more business, right? I used to think that, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And then I would reach out to internet land and or people I know to be able to gather and go hunt for that information. I don't know if you have ever done that or not, but I've done that many times where I would go out, buy courses, buy training, get things and get that, right? And then try to elevate my knowledge or my set of information, right? Now, as I started to do that, things started clicking because of my friends started to talk about reflecting back of some of the things that have worked, right? And one of the things that really shifted the way I think was a book by Richard Koch, the 80-20 principle, okay? You may have heard of it. You probably definitely know of it. And or if you know of it, majority of the individuals do not live by it, right? And then from there, in the sales and marketing world, there's a very great book called 80-20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. If you haven't picked it up, highly recommend for you to pick it up. And they talk about that if you start looking at the world, okay, not just like business, not just financial, but look at relationship, look at health, look at everything that's around us in this world, what you'll start seeing over and over is this idea and concept of the 80-20 principle, meaning that 80% of the results of something comes from that small 20%, all right? And this past couple days ago, right, like I was telling a story to my father-in-law, and he was kind of like open up his eye and he looked like he was really entertained by the story. So I'm going to tell you the story and kind of tie it into the best strategy of 2018 for marketing, okay? So we're coming up with ideas of new revenue source, new income source for them, right? Because that's kind of like my strength, right? Sales and marketing side. So I told them about kind of an opportunity, maybe possibly getting into the wholesaling jewelry business, because I have a friend that their parents own a jewelry store and we can get like discounted jewelry, right? So I asked them, I said, hey, would this be even something that's interesting or might be able to do, right? To sell to this particular community, right? And they said, I don't know if this will work or not, and blah, 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 right? And I said, you know what? Don't worry about the sales side. I'll come up with some type of hook to be able to sell it. But let me tell you a story, right? And so I went in and I told about a story when I was doing insurance and financial services in downtown Los Angeles many, many years ago, over a decade ago, right? And I was walking on the busy street of Little Tokyo, and I'm Japanese for people who don't know, and I was walking to lunch, right? And I always saw this kid on the corner, right, selling candy. Okay, he was selling candy. He was standing there with a box of candy, right? So, but he would never say anything. He would just sit there and stand there, right? Until this one day I was walking, and then he approached me. He said, sir. And I said, yeah, what's going on? And he goes, sir, I have 2 candy bars in this box. Would you help me out and buy the last 2 from me? That's what he said. And I was just like, okay, how much? And he went on to say, well, usually each of them costs $5 a piece, but because I only have 2 in this box, I'll give you 2 for $5 so you can get 1 free. That's what he said. Okay? Now, for anyone that knows anything about like people who sell candy from boxes, right? And the little kid selling that, right? You know damn well a candy bar, Hershey's candy bar doesn't cost $5, right? You go to the store, it costs you about $1, $1.50 or whatever it is. And back then it was probably like cheaper than $1. I think like $1. Right now maybe it's like $2, right? So the guy has some margin on there, right? So but I looked at him, I looked at the box, and literally it was like a box and he only had 2 in there. So I said, you know what? So I reached into my pocket and I gave him the $5. All right, I took my Hershey's bar, right? And then I started walking away. I said, thank you. He said, thank you. I said, you're welcome. And I started walking away. And then I turned back around and then I saw him, right, with his empty box, go to his backpack that was like leaning against the wall, and he reached in and he got 2 more candy bars and he put it back in the box. And the next gentleman that was walking by, I heard him say the exact same pitch. Sir. I have 2 candy bars in this box. Can you please help me by buying both of these? Right? Like the same exact pitch he told me. Right? And then I saw that guy buy the exact 2 candy bars again. Now, when I saw that, right, at this time, I was like, I think I was like 18 or something like that, right? I was in the insurance financial services industry, and I was learning about the psychology of sales and stuff like that, right? So it's not always what you say, but it's how you say it, right? And one of the books I was studying at that time was a gentleman named Tom Hopkins, Act Like a Lamb, Sell Like a Lion, right? Low Profile Selling, right? That's a book. If you haven't read that, highly recommend for you to read that book as well. It was really good. So I would listen to that over and over, and I was like, this kid's good, right? So I respected him, and I was like, damn, that's good. So now, why am I telling you this story about this kid? And if you hear this story, right, now you're going to be on 2 sides of the camp, right? One, you're going to be like me and get super pumped and excited that this kid understands sales and psychology, and we'll applaud him for actually getting that at an early age. Or you're going to be pissed off and you're going to be like, damn, Jeff, that guy hustled you. Or you're on the camp of, oh my gosh, what can I learn from that, right? And so why am I telling you this about what is the best marketing strategy for 2018, okay? Is Jeff Bezos said it best, okay? And if you don't know who Jeff Bezos is, he is the founder of Amazon, right? And he said something that was really profound, and I heard him say this many, many years ago, and it's still to this day, I still remember, because that's when I made that shift in the way that I think. And the question that he was asked is this: where do you see the retail business or the e-commerce business in 10 years, right? Or 20 years? Okay. And Jeff Bezos came back, the founder of Amazon, and he said, I really don't think about that much. Now think about that for a second, okay? The guy that's now considered, okay, because the stock is now over $1,000 a share, okay, is one of the richest man in terms of net worth, okay, the most net worth in this world, okay, doesn't think about what will change in 10 years. 5 years or even 10 years or 20 years. He doesn't think about that. What I really think about is what will not change in his business. And he goes on to explain that he says, hey, people are still looking for great prices on products, and they want access to that as fast as they can. right? So that's what he thinks about. So as you're approaching 2018, where you're getting a reset, right? Versus maybe like going by the fiscal year of when your business starts, right? With a reset, right? Think about that when it comes to your best marketing strategy. Don't think about what's changing, okay? Because when you start thinking about what's changing, you can't really predict that, especially at the speed of which things are changing, especially in our industry, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So what I started thinking about is what will not change in the world of marketing. What will not change? Right? It started many years ago. And if you've been following my podcast and you've been hearing about me preaching about that, right? I would always say, hey, you know what? Some things change, some things don't change, right? So in the space of marketing, okay? Fundamentally, if I can give you a golden nugget before you start planning out, if you already planned out 2018, okay? Maybe I can help you make a little slight tweak to your plan, is to think about the meaning of what is a lead. What is a lead? Because I see the comments in here, ladies and gentlemen. I see the stuff that you guys and gals are talking about in here. And so my question to you is, think about what is a lead, okay? What is a lead? Right? Because this is going to answer your question on things like, oh, what CRM should I use? Right? Because every year when it's the beginning of the year, people start thinking about like, oh my gosh, let me add more stuff to the plate. Like, hey, figure out what CRM should I put my business in? What website should I upgrade? What new business card and new branding strategy should I do? Right? They start thinking about that kind of stuff versus not adding more stuff. Subtract more stuff off of your plate so you can multiply. I'll say it again. Don't add more stuff thinking that that's going to give you a little extra couple stuff. No, subtract something so you can multiply, right? Subtract something off of your plate so you can do more things, okay? So when it comes to the marketing side, the question I tell people all the time is, what is a lead, right? Going back to the premise of, hey, don't think about what changed, but actually think about what doesn't change. So if you have to rewind back to 1980s, 1990s, before kind of like the internet was infancy stage, if I were to ask you what is a lead, right? Guarantee you it would be dramatically different than what people say currently today, right? Because right now the so-called gurus and experts out there, they claim a lead is this or lead is that. My answer to what is a lead, what doesn't change, is the way to communicate with people. Right? Like this, I'm communicating with you. Right? So a platform to be able to do that is a way to access to a lead. So to make it in a simple term, what is a lead? It's a way of communication, a name, right? An address, preferably, right? If they're a homeowner, and a phone number or email. Those are literally the four things. Now, if you didn't have email and you went back to the 1990s, early 1990s, where real estate agents used to hold like a binder around and stuff like that, right? What was your lead? It was a phone book, right? Literally a phone book. Right? But yet, because of the internet, because of the social media, we've kind of like changed that idea. Right? So again, if we can go back to the fundamentals, and I'll tie this all in with a bow and exactly what's the best strategy, okay, for 2018 for marketing, is if you can understand a lead is simply a way to communicate with someone. Again, name, address, phone number, or email. Right? So because even if you're missing phone number, you can still do direct mail, right? If you're missing a phone number, you can still do email marketing, right? If you're missing a phone number, have email address, right? But then you know that, hey, they're a homeowner. What can you do? You can upload that database as a retargeting campaign on Google, on Twitter, on even LinkedIn, on Facebook, right? You can run retargeting campaigns, right? So now the next question beyond that is, how do you get more leads? Okay, now you might be like, Jeff, man, this sounds like really elementary you're talking about, Jeff. And sorry for my language, but okay, if you've gotten this far in the video and you're paying attention, okay, the biggest game changer for me was the idea and concept of data appending. Right? I kind of like comment in and stuff like that when people are asking about that. I put that in there. And then the idea of aged leads. Okay? Data pending and aged leads. So let me explain these two different concepts. Okay? First one is, let me talk about aged leads because that's the easiest thing to do. Okay, data pending, I'll talk about the utility of that, okay? But an aged leads is basically a lead vendor, okay? Someone that is a lead vendor, and a lead vendor is going to sell you leads, right? Like what? Like you go to Zillow, you go to Realtor.com, you go to all these places, and you're supposed to subscribe, right? And you pay a monthly fee, and the marketing company is smart. They're going to tie you up and lock you up in a contract, 6 months, a quarter, 12 months, and you got to pay, right? And they're going to say, I'm going to send you the best leads ever, the hottest leads ever. right? And you're paying. Now, based on your ability to be able to convert that lead to a prospect, you're going to get deals or not get deals, right? Okay. Now, the only thing across the board that you can figure out as you're doing this, right, is if you think about, again, what doesn't change. Okay. Again, not what will change in marketing, but what doesn't change in marketing, what doesn't change in our real estate business is the way to communicate people, right? It's not going to change that much. Okay. Then you can break it down to cost per lead. So, what is an aged lead? Okay, aged lead is you go to a lead vendor that sells you subscription model or a broker or someone that has what they call old leads. Now, why would you want to buy old leads? You might be saying to yourself, why the hell do you want to even buy old leads? Well, here's the reason why, okay? People don't change their phone numbers and emails all the time unless they got to hide from people, all right? And if you know your market area, you know the actual frequency of someone is going to move or buy a house, right? Is your market area people living there 3 years and then they sell, 4 years or 5 years and they sell? Is it 3 years, right? So if you go to a lead vendor that you can subscribe to, instead of subscribing, it says, well, for $100, you're going to send me 10 leads, so it's $10 a pop. Instead of having that conversation, you change the negotiation around and says, hey, by the way, how many leads do you have in your database currently right now? Right? So, and then if they say, well, we currently have about 1,000 in there, right? And then if they tell you that it's $100 a month, then now you can run the math and be like, okay, there's 1,000 leads or way to communicate with someone in their database. They'll give me new fresh ones, $10 a month, and it'll cost me $100, right? So instead of that, you do what? 1,000 leads for $100 for that first 30 days. Now, if you do that and you understand that metrics, then you can go into that database and extract all of the 1,000 leads in there. Right? That's age leads. And then you start marketing to them. Now, why is that? Why does that work? Okay. So again, as I said, understand that phone numbers don't change. Emails don't change. So even if you have old expireds, right? Like I was telling one of the students, right? And someone else says, hey man, I'm beating up these expireds phone number. I'm smiling and dialing, baby, but I'm not converting. I said, dude, think about this. If something gets, changes from it was listed and they went to expired, how many real estate agents in your local marketplace are hitting this person up? Right? I asked that. And he says, I don't know. But every single time I call them, they said, I'm sick and tired of talking to you real estate agents. Right? And I said, dude, yeah, of course. So I said, hey, man, why don't you do the complete opposite? Right? Why don't you ask your broker and say, hey, what is the oldest leads you got on your database of expireds? And why don't you call them? And he says, why the hell do I want to do that? And I said, because people do not change their cell phones or change their email address, okay? And then he says, okay, well, I want to try. So, and then he hits up the broker, and the broker tells him, says, hey, man, we got about 5,000 records, right? Because they have a bunch of people like smiling and dialing in their office, right? And so he says, well, I can't call 5,000 people. I said, yes, of course you cannot call 5,000 people. So I said, okay, so what I would recommend is I said, hey, what is the frequency in your marketplace, right? He's in like Chicago, right? And it says of people actually physically selling, how long do they live there? And he was like, well, maybe 4 or 5 years. And I said, okay, call the people that are 3 years. Now, why would you do that? Is because if it was listed, it went expired, and then they found a way to sell it, then now they bought a new place typically. And if they bought a new place, they may want to actually physically sell that new place. Right? That's what I told him. So he went on, he got on the dialer, started calling them, right? A couple of them, he got slugged in the face, right? Like, hey, why are you calling me, right? And then finally, boom, he got a lead. He started converting, right? Got another one, right? Where the person wanted to sell and wanted to buy, right? And things like that. And these people were not hammered, so it was so much easier for him. Right? So again, going back to what is the best marketing strategy for 2018, what is the best strategy to get more business and to do more deals is not to add more stuff. You have to do subtraction and take stuff off of your table first. And then from there, you have the ability to multiply and grow more revenue, right? Or grow more income. Right? Because the issue is many of the time we go through these ups and downs of income, right? Because of the deals we market prospect leads, right? Turn leads to prospect. We get stuff into escrow deals, tied in, and then it closes. And then when you're doing that, you're not marketing, income drops again, right? And you're doing it back up, and it's like this consistently, right? Versus if you understand this, right? It becomes a lot easier. Okay. So again, that's age data. All right. So you can do that. So again, my recommendation, if you're paying for leads, right, go back, go after the old leads, right? Maybe you got old dead leads that you said, these people are tire kickers, right? Like maybe you were doing some little Facebook lead generation and then suddenly they're like, these people weren't remotely interested. Get that database. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is data pending. Okay. So again, if you've gotten this far, all right, hopefully you're getting value. Let me know by hitting the like button or leave me a comment saying, hey, this is gold or whatever it is data appending. Okay, so what did I say again? Okay, if I can give you two things, number one is understanding the concept of what will not change, right? And starting from that approach, and understanding what a lead is a simply way to communicate with someone, which is name, address, phone number, email. Okay, so what if you can get anyone's cell phone number, right? What if? Right? Think about this, okay? Keep an open mind, okay? Live in the world of possibilities, okay? Get anyone's cell phone numbers. What will that do to your business? Right? Start from there. And then from there, if you can get anyone's cell phone number, okay, and you can just call them, right, and they'll answer and be like, hey, right? What type of cell phones would you want? Cell phone numbers. Okay, and when I say what type, I'm not talking about like Verizon, or I'm not talking about AT&T, or I'm not talking about Samsung, Apple, okay? I'm talking about what type as in what kind of phone numbers, and who do you want to actually call? Would you want to call FESBOs? Would you want to call absentee owners? Would you want to call foreclosures? Right? And if you understand that concept, just know that there's technology, and because remember, nothing's private anymore, ladies and gentlemen, right? If I wanted to get your social security numbers, I can get your social security number. Okay? So if you understand that and you're open to that idea and you understand that there's nothing that's private, understand that you can get access to the cell phone number of anyone. Right? And that's what data appending is all about, is what? What is a lead again? A full name, a address, and a means to communicate, which is what? A phone number or an email. Okay? Now, out of these four things, okay, which one of the twos are really easy to get? Okay, if you're in the real estate, it should be like ding, ding, ding. If not, I'll tell you, okay? Which is what? Full name and a property address. Why? Because it's on public records, right? You can go to RealX, you can go to a title person, right? You can go to whatever free sources you can get to. Matter of fact, you can even go to Google and you can get an address, and you can go to white pages and get people's address and full name, right? So if you have that, then you take that batch of data, the raw data, and then you send it to a data appending company. And when they do that, they fill in the blocks of missing blocks of like cell phone numbers and emails. I'll say it again. You take the raw data of the full name, and then you take the property address, you send it to a data appending company, and then they'll fill in the missing information, like cell phones if you want that, and email addresses. All right? And that's called data appending. All right? Now, you might be saying, wow, dang, Jeff, who is the data appending company? Now, before I tell you who it is, okay, what you need to understand is the utility of something, right? Like, for example, right, like what you're trying to understand here is how to build a machine. And to build a machine, you want to understand how the engine works versus trying to find out how the monkey wrench works. You know, like if you want to learn how to make an engine, right, what's more important, understanding the components of an engine or understanding what a monkey wrench is? Right? Okay. And this is where people get stuck on like websites and stuff like that. No, understand the utility of this. Okay. First off, the utility of a data appending company started off for big Fortune 500 companies. All right, big Fortune 500 companies, okay? For example, you guys have experience with this, okay? So if you're in the real estate business, you just don't know that this is what's going on, okay? So for example, they'll have a database of, customers, right? People who paid for stuff, right? And they would have this, 1 million records or, 100,000 records. And then they'll send it to a data appending company. And the data appending company will cross-check the information to making sure that they have the correct cell phone numbers, the correct email address, the correct full name, correct address, right? And if it's not the correct one, they'll fill in the missing gaps, right? They'll fill in the missing gaps. That is the utility of a data appending company. Now, to break it down to make it even more simpler, if you didn't understand that, is that a credit agency, right? Like TransUnion, Equifax, right? Experian, okay? These three credit agencies, okay, are a data appending company. Ding, 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 if you didn't know that. So if you're in the real estate business, you've seen a credit report, hopefully, and you've seen a FICO score, right? Fair Isaac Credit Company, right? You've seen that, okay? So when people claim that they have the best data, right? Have you ever had that before? Like maybe you've gotten pitched. Well, I get pitched a lot by people in the real estate space, right? All the time. Be like, Jeff, I know you buy a lot of data. I know you actually spend a lot of marketing. Jeff, test us out, right? And these real estate companies that are startups or whatever, barely starting, is hit me up and says, I got the best data. right? And they hit me up and I'll be like, dude, no, you do not have the best data. Stop bullshitting me, man. The best data comes from the credit agencies, right? Credit agencies. Think about that. They have the best data. They have your social security number, right? They have the last 10 years of where you've lived. They have the last 10-year employment history. Why? Because you give it to them, okay? When you do a credit application, credit card, mortgage, whatever it is, you give it to them, right? So they have the best data. So how can a quote unquote marketing agency claim that I have the best data, right? Have you had that? Like a service where you click a button and they'll be like, hey, I'll give you the cell phone number, right? And we have this proprietary algorithm that pulls the information out from somewhere, right? Right? They say that. Now, if they say that, where the do you think that they're getting the damn data from? Right? That's what you got to go to, right? So again, understand how the engine is built, not the monkey wrench, okay? So if you understand that concept, guess what? If you're a tech savvy people, right? They're pulling it by something called API, okay? So again, if you're not a tech person, don't worry about it. Just know that API is like a little straw that's connected to the website or whatever. They click a button and then they suck the information in, they fill it in. Okay. And that is plugged into something called batch services typically with the credit agencies. Okay. So when they do that, this website where maybe you're doing like, hey, calling out, right? You're doing dialers or whatever and the phone number's wrong. They're like, click this button, pay $1.50 to get accurate phone numbers or whatever the they say. Okay. Sorry for my language. I'm cussing. Is if you hit that, guess what they're pulling? An API phone number. Boom. They insert it and they're charging you, arbitraging that data. They're making another profit channel, right? Nothing wrong with them making money on it. Okay. I just want you to be aware on what's going on. Same thing as there's tons of new websites right now that do like IDX, lead capture website, right? Hey, generate the leads on Facebook. And if you got an address on find out what your home is worth type of lead and they put in their address and they didn't put in their email address, click this button and all you have to pay is $3 or $2 and we'll give you the right email address or phone number. Guess where they're pulling it from? The credit agencies are using API. Okay, so if you understand that concept, okay, is go to the direct source, right? And if you understand that lead generation is no longer a problem, right? Because you can append data, you can buy age data. What will that do to your business? Would you be still doing the same old marketing campaign? Probably not. Right? I saw a comment in here by a gentleman talking about, doing a super hyper targeted marketing in like a local marketplace, like a zip code, right? Like a zip code, right? So what if in the zip code, right? There's about maybe 7,000 people. Okay, 7,000 people in a zip code. And I know this because I had a conversation with my friend about this, okay? And matter of fact, here, I'll tell you this story, right? So he's down in San Diego, right? My good friend, William, right? He's down in San Diego and he wants to buy a house for his family, right? So he hits me up and says, dude, man, how can I buy a discounted home for myself, right? And I tell him, I'm like, go do data appending. And he says, okay. And he goes out, finds a zip code, and there's about 7,000 homes in there in that particular zip code. And why does he want to be in that zip code? Is because of the school, right? Because of the school. Kids are getting older and things like that, right? So he said, okay, so what should I do? And I said, dude, if I were you, I would just append all of that 7,000. And he says, well, how much is that going to cost me? Right? Okay. And I said, well, it's going to depend. I said, hey, but it's probably going to call on the high end, maybe $1. And he said, wow, damn, that's a lot. That's what he said. And well, I said, look, man, you can do that, or you can do direct mail to those 7,000 people. But then in direct mail, there's hard cost on postage, right? Which you never get back. Think about this, right? If you get a data set and you do direct mail on postage, you'll never get back. Right? You want to do flyers, right? Okay. Yes, flyers are cheap because you can print them out on your own and stuff like that. So it'll be a couple cents, right? And you start flyering to sending them out or hire someone, your kids or whoever it is, right? To hand them out, right? Number one, you'll never get that money back once you spend it, right? Because someone can just crumple it up and throw it away, right? Versus if you append the data, remember earlier what I said, if you understand what a lead is, the way to communicate. So if there's 7,000 records, I said append that damn thing, and then yeah, it will cost you $7,000, but then you can spend the whole year marketing to those 7,000 people in different ways. You can cold call them, you can re-upload it as a retargeting list, right? Blanket that area. You can do the direct bypass communication marketing, what I talk about, right? Which is to drop voice messages directly into people's cell phone without it ringing, right? You can social engineer a back-end follow-up campaign after you talk to them, right? And or prior to you picking up the phone and calling them, you can run a campaign in front of them. Other ones are if you're going to do an open house, you can run it directly at those 7,000 people. right? So the utility, once you understand that it doesn't go away, you can keep on extracting money out of that. So again, that's my little rant here. I'll do some quick Q&A for the folks that are in here that are watching, since you've been sticking around. And Gary, it says doesn't matter what he wears. Yeah, I came from the gym. And William, I know William, so he was just busting my balls, man. He does that frequently. Kimberly said I have realtors send me leads that can't get approved. Okay. See, now I would love to get my hands on a list of clients brokers denied. That's easy. That's really easy, actually. That's really easy, you know, like, you're gonna laugh, is, what is it, a year and a half ago, right? Last year, I'm sorry, man, the time flies, last year, right? So we appended about 21,000 records, okay, of local Los Angeles people who bought homes in the last 2010 to 2015 with FHA loans. All right, so again, I'll give you the data set, okay? So they bought a house, all right, principal residence, all right, bought a home from 2010 to 2015, right, in a particular zip code, okay? And they bought a house, and we pulled up, first off, the raw records of that, right? We pulled out the raw records. Now, why do we pull up the raw records? Because, look, think about this, okay? Interest rates were much higher back then, right? So as interest rates were coming down, right? Janet Yellen, right? Woohoo! You know, we're supposed to get a interest rate hike, right? Janet Yellen, as the rates were coming down, we're just like, oh, okay, they can do a rate and term refi, streamline refi, and that'll be a great source of leads, right? So we took that 20,000 and we appended that whole damn thing, all right? And that thing was a moneymaker. All right, and still to this day, we work the leads. Still to this day. All right, so why am I telling you this, okay? Is that if you understand, again, how to build the engine versus being caught up in the shiny object of what the real estate community, or matter of fact, all of the marketing community, okay? Like if you've been around the block, you know how marketers pitches a lot of stuff, right? We try to make it like, you know, glamorous as much as possible, right? Because we want to pique your interest, right? It's kind of like that iron fist, velvet glove stuff that I talk about a lot, right? Is to get people's attention. You got to hit them with the iron fist, boom! And then from there, you give them the velvet glove and you're just like, hey, you know? So again, a lot of marketers do that kind of stuff where they, you know, they claim that it's the best thing since sliced bread. But then what you need to understand is, again, the utility of the engine of data pending and age data, which I just talked about, is not to add more stuff, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You don't multiply by adding more stuff, okay? First, you got to subtract, get something off your plate, okay? Look at what's been working in 2017, and then from there, multiply that. Right? I'm going to be doing a lot of calls with some of the guys I've been working with this year. And, there's about 3 guys in particular, okay? 3 guys, right? And I'll give you kind of the gist of these 3 guys, right? Is that all of them, okay? All of them do not have like this special funky IDX website with lead capture site and, you know, converting leads with the CRM. They don't have that. They use Excel, Google Docs, Google Docs. Okay, and has 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 records on there, right? On different Excel spreadsheets, right? Versus many of you guys in here are like, I got to get a CRM. Yeah, which one's the best one? Nah, man, all CRM is based fundamentally on a file set called a CSV file. So if you don't actually use an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of stuff like that, how are you ever going to use a CRM, right? So the point is, all of these guys do that. And then on top of that, all of these guys make over 300. Okay, some of them are actually in the 500 range and then the 600 range, right? The last 2, okay? And many of them was under 35, all right? Under 35, right? Millennial guys. Right now, how are they able to do that? And not only that, but they've taken the most time off this year. They went on more vacation. Now, it didn't happen overnight, okay? These guys are busting their ass for, you know, building it and understanding it. But what they were working on a lot wasn't this adding more stuff, right? To try this little Facebook stuff, try this, do that, do the Google stuff, do new website branding. No, man. They understand fundamentally what will not change in real estate, which is people's address, typically, unless they move, right? Their name won't change, right? When their phone number and email, like especially cell phone, they won't change. So let me focus on that, and how can I acquire that? That's what they focused on. And then when you start understanding that, then now you can run your numbers backwards and says, is it a good investment? Here's what I mean, right? If you can append data at $1 a pop, right? Would you spend $6 on Facebook ads? It depends. It depends. Would you rather have an email leads for $6 through Facebook or Google AdWords? Or would you rather have, 6 more phone numbers that's not being contacted by everyone else? All depends, right? So you can start thinking about it. Now, there's a strategy I talked about last year where I started heavily acquiring Facebook groups, right? I would buy them. Local Facebook groups. Like I own literally, I think around 11 or 12 Facebook groups, right? 2 in particular, I'll tell you. One is called Los Angeles, Buy and Rent. Okay. And I have another one, the Inland Empire, right? One one has about, 14,000. Another one has 8,000 people in there, right? I started buying Facebook groups, like hitting up the admin and says, hey, by the way, I want to buy it from you. Now, why did I do that? Is because I knew it was underpriced. I knew it was underpriced at that time. No one was doing it. And I learned it from doing when I was buying YouTube channels many, many years ago. Right? I would find little funny cat videos or baby videos on people's YouTube channel that has one video on there. And I would hit up the owner and I would say, hey dude, let me buy your YouTube channel. Right? And they'll freak out, be like, why the hell you want to buy my stupid cat video or stupid video that they have? The only reason why I wanted is because if they had 100,000 views, 200,000 views on there, I could have, guess what? Put my link to my website in the description section, right? And if I did that, it would give me what they call SEO juice. It doesn't work now, okay? But it used to work back then. It would give me SEO juice and my website will rank higher. Like We Buy Houses, right? Like Short Sale Buyers, right? That was a domain that I used to have, shortsalesbuyers.com, where we'd get a bunch of short sale leads, right? And then I would put those into the bot YouTube channel and boom, when people Google short sales, boom, my website will pop up. Right? So it was a strategy. Okay. And it was a very gimmicky strategy, right? It's not a long-term strategy other than the fact that I understood what will not change other than, hey, it's the control of real estate that I can rank my website higher. And then from there, extract as much as you can and then pivot versus many of y'all in here. I've been preaching about Facebook leads since 5-6 years now. Right? And many of you guys are barely getting hip to it versus now you're competing against with agents or even other marketers that's been on the platform 4 or 5 years now. And, they'll just outspend you. Like some of my clients, right? In here, right? They just run the damn stuff, just so that way their competitors can't enter the marketplace. I kid you not. Right? I kid you not. He just runs the Facebook ads in his whole county and he just drops literally $5,000 a month, right? Drops $5,000. Now, why does he do that? Okay? It's because everyone else in his marketplace thinks that he's actually getting business from doing Facebook ads. And you know what the funny thing about it is? He doesn't even run that ad in front of, that component they have, the button on there, right? Like, hey, homeowner or renters, right? He runs it in front of real estate agents. That's it. He puts in there, employer, real estate agents, interest. Now, why does he do that? And why does he spend that much on there? Is because he wants the marketplace to believe that that's how he's getting business. He's playing offense. Okay? And so every other person that's new kid on the block, they'll see him and look at his volume and be like, damn, man, this guy is killing it. And then they'll actually be like, he's getting business from Facebook. Literally, that's what everyone believes. But in reality, guess what he's doing? Data pending and age data. Right? So again, that's what I got for y'all. I hope you got value out of this. Kimberly said, I'm a credit repair agent. Good. Try to give value much as you can before asking for business. That's my recommendation. If you have any other questions, leave a comment below and I'll come back in here and I'll answer them. That's what I got. Love y'all. Take care and bye-bye.